So you're looking to shoot some really cool videos. Maybe it's for a vlog or some travel videos or even just some really neat social media content. Well, I'm here to share my opinions on what I think would be the best device to do just that. But it's between the Canon M50 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Hi, my name is Edward, and my channel is all about filmmaking, content creation, tips, tutorials, and reviews. So if you're interested in anything creative, I would definitely consider subscribing. But let's jump right in. I'm going to share my opinions that might help you decide on whether to go with the Canon M50 or the iPhone 11 Pro Max. But please keep in mind that my opinions are only talking to semi-professional and hobbyist video needs.
The Canon EOS M50 mirrorless camera has a 24.1 megapixel sensor, dual pixel CMOS autofocus, face and eye detection, shoots in a variety of frame rates such as 120 frames per second in 720p, also 24 frames per second in 4K at a 2.5x crop. It also has a varied angle screen for vlogging and selfie mode filming. The Canon M50 is small and amazingly light. This modern classic packs the latest photo and video technology in a stylish design that fits in your hand.
So when Canon first launched the EOS M50 back in 2018, it was announced to be the best choice for stepping up photo and video enthusiasts from using a smartphone. It had all the features that creators wanted to see, such as focus peaking and digital image stabilization. Even had a clean enough HDMI output that was good enough for limited periods of live streaming. But is all this still enough to keep us from considering the iPhone 11 Pro?
The iPhone 11 Pro Max has Apple's new triple 12 megapixel camera setup, the same setup as found in the smaller iPhone 11 Pro. The combination of ultra-wide, wide, and telephoto lenses gives you the ability to shoot in 0.5x, 1x, or 2x optical zoom, and then up to 10x digital zoom. The ultra-wide lens has a 13mm focal length with an f2.4 aperture and gives you 120 degrees field of view. The standard or wide lens has a 26mm focal length with an f1.8 aperture and gives you 100% focus pixels covering the sensor. The telephoto lens has a 52mm focal length with an f2.0 aperture. The iPhone 11 Pro has a variety of frame rates for filming. It can shoot up to 60 frames per second in 4K resolution.
So when Apple launched this iPhone 11 Pro in 2019, it was announced to be the professional creator's option to capturing professional quality images and videos right in the palm of your hands. So I think it's clear by now to see that both of these devices on paper are qualified to get the job done. But for the sake of this video, let's compare them and put them to the tests on 3 levels: video quality, filming practicality, and something that's underestimated, the accessories that you might need to consider that might bring the best out of both of these. So let's settle this in the old-fashioned way. Let's take it outside.
The first practical filming test will compare the video quality using the selfie mode filming style. The iPhone 11 Pro front camera has a 12 megapixel sensor filming with a 23mm focal length at f2.2 aperture. Whereas the Canon M50 24.1 megapixel sensor had a standard EF M15 to 45mm kit lens filming at f3.5 aperture. As far as video quality goes, I found that aside from the better dynamic range on the iPhone 11 Pro, the Canon M50's footage had slightly better shallow depth of field or bokeh, which separated myself as a subject from the background. This could partly be as a result of the limited controls that you have on the iPhone 11 Pro's camera settings while shooting in this mode, although using a third-party app like Filmic Pro, whereas you naturally have these controls available to you on the M50. Now let's turn to the rear lenses on the iPhone and compare the different focal lengths to the M50's. Let's start with the standard wide lens on the iPhone 11 Pro that's filming with a 26mm focal length at f1.8 aperture versus the M50 that's filming in the same focal length at f4 aperture. Moving on to the ultra-wide practical test. The Canon M50 is filming at a 15mm focal length at an f/4.0 aperture, whilst the iPhone 11 Pro is filming at a 13mm focal length at an f/2.4 aperture. Now, in order to practically compare the telephoto focal length on both devices, which is 52mm, factoring in the Canon M50's APS-C sensor, which will multiply 35mm by 1.5 to get to the closest focal length of 52.5mm. Now, for the practical stability test, we're going to bring in my buddy down here and we are going to run after him while shooting handheld on both devices at the same time, with the objective of trying to keep him in frame with as much stability as possible. Let's see. All right, let's run. And he's done. Okay, so here's a quick comparison on the audio, just to see the clear differences between the two native microphones in the device itself. So this is what it sounds like on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and this is what I sound like on the Canon M50. So let me know what you think, which one works best.
But one thing that shouldn't be underestimated throughout this whole practicalities test is also looking at the battery life. When iPhone launched this device, they noted that it had an improvement of 4 hours from the iPhone 10 of battery life, which is a great improvement. Unfortunately, the M50 doesn't really stack up to this. In my opinion, if you're going to be doing long periods of shooting, I would recommend that you have at least 2 batteries, one in the device and one on charge. But if you're like me and can't be bothered with having devices on charge, directing, having to shoot and charge, I would recommend that you stack yourself up with 3 extra batteries, so you have 4 batteries in total. So now that we've looked at all of these elements, let's have a look at the last part, which is the accessories.
So this is my opinion on what I think would be the ideal accessories that you would need to get the best out of your Canon M50. You would need at least 2 batteries, an external microphone with a dead cat for the best audio quality. You would also need a stabilizer, perhaps a GorillaPod tripod. You would also need a gimbal. I recommend the Zhiyun Crane 2, as it'll give you some of the buttery, smoothest cinematic shots that'll also meet your budget. To get the most out of your iPhone 11 Pro or Pro Max, you're gonna need a stabilizer, perhaps a GorillaPod tripod. You could also consider an external microphone with a dead cat. The iPhone clearly has way better stability than the M50, but if it's really necessary to get super smooth footage, I would recommend a cell phone gimbal like the Zhiyun Smooth 4.
Alright, so we have looked at both of these devices and we've compared them as far as video quality, filming practicality, and the accessories that you might need to consider that affect your total cost of owning the device for the filming purposes. So it comes back down to one question: which device would I recommend would be the best in these 2 scenarios? And unfortunately, I can't give you a blanket statement to answer that, but what I can give you is 3 tips that might help you decide which device makes sense for you. Tip number 1, consider your needs. Consider what you are shooting. Consider the content that you're trying to create. This will ultimately affect how much you spend and the accessories you use. Tip number 2, consider your skill level. Be honest with yourself. Are you a beginner, an intermediate, or a skilled user on both of these devices? For instance, for a beginner, I would recommend considering the M50 because it is a beginner's interface that allows you step-by-step control your camera to the best solution that will fit your shooting requirements. Tip number 3, consider your budget, because it all comes back down to how much you can afford. All right, that's it from me. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you really like this video or you found this intriguing, please hit me with a thumbs up like And if you are interested in anything creative, please consider subscribing. I would also love to hear from you down in the comments below so we can share experiences, share some knowledge, and get some building going on. Until next time, don't wait, just create.